Why have you all gone quiet? Well, good afternoon to a wonderful crowd. Thank you very much for coming today for this groundbreaking for renovations to what is a truly iconic building that will be on the completion of these renovations known as Simon Scott Assembly Hall. These much anticipated changes and upgrades to Assembly Hall are being made possible through a $40 million extraordinarily generous gift, the largest in the Department of Athletics history, from IU alumna Cindy Simon Scott and her philanthropic organisation, the Sumerian Foundation. This extraordinarily generous gift has also helped to launch IU Athletics' ambitious and unprecedented $150 million capital campaign titled Catching Excellence, the campaign for Indiana University Athletics, which in turn will be part of IU's bicentennial campaign due to be completed at the end of 2019. In our plans for this iconic building will be to ensure that we maintain the character and experience of this venue while enhancing the functionality of the facility. Thus, we'll be preserving one of the greatest home court advantages in college basketball. We expect to complete these renovations in 2016. Now, I'm pleased that we've been joined here today by so many friends of Indiana University, and it's always a pleasure in gatherings such as this one to recognize those individuals who contribute so much to this campus and to the university community. And I'd like to introduce three members of the Board of Trustees of Indiana University who have joined us today, and I ask them to stand as I call their names, and would you please hold your applause until all three are standing. Mary Ellen K. Bishop of Carmel, Vice Chair of the Trustees, Philip Enescu Jr. of North Webster, and Jim Morris of Indianapolis. Please join me in welcoming our trustees. And I would also like to welcome a colleague who plays a vital role in the development and construction of all new and renovated IU facilities, and that is Indiana University Vice President for Capital Planning and Facilities, Thomas A. Morris. And Tom, where are you? Tom, please join me in welcoming Tom. And also with us today are members of the Simon Scott family, and I'm sure they'll be introduced later, and also Kenneth Gross-Lewis, University Chancellor Emeritus. Please join me in welcoming them as well. In a book with the marvelous title of Temples of the Earthbound Gods by Christopher Gaffney, he writes that stadiums and arenas matter to us because they are places where we share common emotions in a common place in a limited time frame. Games, concerts and spectacles are momentous occasions that live on in our collective memory. And he continues, the limited space and time of the arena gives spectators a sense of privileged participation. I was there when is a proud claim made by millions who have attended all these kinds of events. Today, as we recall the many momentous occasions that live on in the collective memory of the millions who have experienced events at Assembly Hall, we mark the beginning of IU's effort to preserve and improve one of collegiate basketball's most iconic venues, so that future generations of Hoosier fans can continue to enjoy similarly unforgettable experiences. The rich history of IU basketball includes, of course, the history of the facilities that have been its home. Nearly 120 years ago, in 1896, Indiana University's 9th president, Joseph Swain, dedicated IU's first Assembly Hall, a wooden building that served as the General Assembly Hall for the university, in which a wide variety of university gatherings were held. The sport of basketball was then in its infancy, and the building became the home of IU's first basketball teams beginning in 1900. A little more than a decade after its construction, the building, by then known as Old Faithful, had deteriorated to the point where the student newspaper described it as being in such, quote, bad, unsatisfactory and overcrowded condition as to be a positive menace to student health. The building was considered such a disgrace to the university that the Daily Student also wrote that, quote, the 1913 groundhog was scared by the sight of it before he saw his own shadow. They can't write like that anymore in the student newspaper. A series of much improved buildings, all of which are still part of the Bloomington campus, followed soon afterwards. The men's gymnasium, now part of the facilities of the IU School of Public Health. The field house, now known as the Wildermuth Intramural Centre, and the new field house, now known as the Harry Gladstein Field House. All of these facilities were the sites of many thrilling and historic games. And in 1971, Assembly Hall, one of the now most venerable and iconic venues in collegiate basketball, became home not only to the men's basketball team, but also to the women's basketball team, which became a varsity sport in that very year. The facility, of course, has had a long and storied history. It has been home to 3 national men's basketball championship teams and 13 conference championships. 5 years ago this month, I had the pleasure of dedicating Cook Hall, in which we now are, the magnificent basketball development facility that was made possible primarily through the remarkable generosity of the late Bill Cook and his wife Gail and other generous donors. And I understand Gail is here with us. Oh, Gail is here. Please join me in thanking and welcoming Gail as well. Well, this wonderful space, Cook Hall, is I think greatly valued and appreciated by everybody connected with IU basketball in it, and it is, I think, a truly wonderful complement to Assembly Hall. And while it is true that Assembly Hall is, as sportscaster Gus Johnson has called it, the Carnegie Hall of basketball, the building is now nearly 44 years old and sorely in need of major renovation. Of course, we're here today then in large part because of the generosity and vision of philanthropist and IU alumna Cindy Simon Scott. As I had the great pleasure of announcing in December of 2013 in Assembly Hall, Cindy and her philanthropic organisation, the Sumerian Foundation, made an extraordinarily generous gift of $40 million, the largest gift in the history of IU athletics, to be used for the much-needed extensive renovation of Assembly Hall. I was also very pleased to announce that, in honour of this landmark gift, when these renovations are complete, Assembly Hall will be renamed Simon Scott Assembly Hall. And Cindy and her family have, of course, been extraordinarily generous supporters of Indiana University for many, many years. In 2013, Cindy very generously donated $2 million to endow a chair in the Heron School of Art and Design's Art Therapy program, a very, very innovative program that Cindy has helped crucially to support. The same year, Cindy also made a generous gift of $1.5 million to endow the Melvin Simon Chair in Philanthropy in the new IU Lilly Family School of Philanthropy on the IUPUI campus in honour of her late father, Melvin Simon. Of course, the Simon family name has long been synonymous with transformative philanthropy in the state of Indiana and across the nation, and it will be forevermore interwoven into the great achievements of Indiana University. The Simon family has supported our students through the Helene G. Simon Hillel Center. They have supported the arts through the IU Jacobs School of Music, and they have supported multidisciplinary life sciences research and other research through the award-winning Simon Hall. Their remarkable generosity also made possible the creation of the nationally recognized Melvin and Bren Simon Cancer Center in Indianapolis. And the family's vision and support have had a truly transformative and really tremendous effect on this university. Cindy, of course, has also been personally enormously generous with her time and her service to IU, serving as a member of the IU Foundation Board of Directors, the Women's Philanthropy Council, and as co-chair of the highly successful Matching the Promise campaign, which raised $1.14 billion for the Bloomington campus. And also, she has served as the co-chair of IU Athletics portion of the university-wide campaign that, as I said before, will be completed by IU's bicentennial in 2020. Cindy's generous gift, the gift that we celebrate today, and her outstanding leadership have already inspired many others to join the effort to preserve and improve one of the great venues in college athletics for the next generation of Hoosier basketball fans. Last week, for example, we announced that attorney Ken Nunn had made a generous gift of $2 million and that the renovated south entryway to Assembly Hall will be named in his honour. I know Mr. Nunn is with us today. Please join me in thanking him for his gift. And I want to thank the many other people who have also contributed to various aspects of this renovation project as well. And I would, of course, like to once again extend our deepest gratitude to Cindy Simon-Scott, to her husband Paul, the owner of the Indiana Ice, who is with us here today, and to their entire family for their wonderful generosity. So join me again in thanking Cindy and Paul and the family. And your generosity will touch the lives of countless student athletes, coaches, alumni, and friends of IU, and it will help IU's men's and women's basketball programs to continue to thrive and to excel for many decades to come. In paying tribute to a number of America's historic major league baseball parks that were built in the early 20th century, John Zinn writes that for half a century or more after their construction, those facilities were cathedrals where countless people had unforgettable experiences, including their first game, special family memories, and moments of excitement, heartbreak, and of joy. The renovations that we begin here today will ensure that the next generation of IU alumni, friends, and fans will also be able to enjoy similar unforgettable experiences in Assembly Hall, one of the truly great cathedrals of basketball, just as the Simon family and so many others have done over more than 4 remarkable decades. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Fred Glass, the Indiana University Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. Please join me in welcoming Fred.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and welcome. It's great to have you all here. I am just going to add on behalf of the athletic department a few thank yous and then also generally describe the project that we're here to kick off or tip off, I guess, today. First of all, I'd like to thank Michael and Lori McRobbie not only for hosting, sponsoring, and being here for today's event, but for all the support that you give Intercollegiate Athletics. They're here for practices with the kids, training sessions with the kids, games. They recently completed a circuit of every single sport, all of our 24 sports, and attended either a practice and or a competition. So thank you for your great support of athletics. I'd like to add my thanks to the Board of Trustees. We literally would not be here had they not approved this project, and we appreciate that very much. And Jim Morris and Mary Ellen Bishop and Phil Eskew have been great supporters of athletics on the board and otherwise, and we really appreciate that. Of course, Cindy, Simon Scott, Paul, Ian, Eric, and I think Samantha may be otherwise engaged today. But thanks to the entire family for this gift, but also your great support of IU Athletics in so many different ways. It's much appreciated. I want to thank Ken Nunn for his generous gift. Thank you, Ken. Well, we're almost in the Champions Entry Plaza, so thank you for your support. And I know it's been done, but I have to add my thanks to Gail Cook. This is just an amazing facility, and the generosity of you and Bill. Thank you so much for your support and helping to support IU Athletics, and particularly the men's and women's basketball programs. A few other thank yous. I want to add the thanks to Tom Morrison, but also the other folks in his office, Bob Richardson, John Lewis, our own Eric Newberger, who have been driving this program forward on matters both big and small. The outside help that we're getting from Bob Bull and David King with the Smith Group. CSO Architects, I know, is represented today. Shield Sexton and all the other companies and craftsmen who are going to be involved in this project. Thanks to all of you. These events don't just happen. We kind of show up and enjoy, but I'd like to thank Doug Boer, Carl Zacher, Mary Jo Fillauer, and Betsy Trotsky for all the work in putting together this great event. Also, my colleagues on campus, there's so many issues that happen with making sure the IT is just right and the financing goes right and the legal documents get done. So I'd like to thank Dan Smith, Mary Frances McCourt, Jackie Simmons, Brad Wheeler, and Kurt Zorn for being here today and taking time to celebrate this with us. Also want to thank our presenters that are coming up. They'll be introduced, but especially Tom Crean, who will represent both the men's basketball and the women's basketball program. Terry Morin is at the women's Final Four in Tampa. Otherwise, she would be here, and it's particularly appropriate that Tom is here because he was here for both the Simon Scott gift and the Nunn gift, and so we were glad he was here for those and glad that he is here today as well. But all of our coaches, not only the ones who will participate in Assembly Hall, but throughout the department, all of our student athletes, including Tyra and Robert, excited to have you guys here today, our department staff, and finally, and most importantly, our fans, because it is the fans of Indiana University basketball that have made Assembly Hall a very special place for the last 44 years, and I think they'll be very pleased when they're able to enter the new Simon Scott Assembly Hall here in just a few short months. As Michael mentioned, this project is really all about preserving the greatest home court advantage in college basketball, and we're going to do that in a number of ways, starting primarily with enhancing the fan experience. We're going to do that by cleaning up and renovating all the bathrooms and adding a number of bathrooms to make that a better amenity for our fans, expanding the concession stands to make that a better experience. All the seats will be refurbished, not the bleachers, but all the seat back seats, and all those will be all redone. A brand new Jumbotron to make the fan experience great throughout the arena, but I think frankly, particularly in the balcony, it'll be a great addition to the fan experience for those folks there, and I spent quite a bit of time in the balcony myself in the day. We're replacing all the metal railings with acrylic panels. That'll be both a sight line feature and a safety feature. And then finally, we are adding premium seating in the south end, and one of the major benefits of that is that'll create a revenue stream that we will dedicate to maintaining the building so it never falls into the disrepair that it unfortunately has fallen into over the last 44 years. We're also going to improve fan accessibility, escalators in both the north and south lobbies. We've retained a consultant and have made major steps forward in making it more accessible to people with disabilities, so that'll be a major plus in the new building. We're going to enhance the look, and maybe the most dramatic feature of the new building will be a dramatic new entryway and atrium, what I like to call the front door, a new front door facing campus, inviting people into the Carnegie Hall of college basketball, and the new entry plaza. It'll be the Champions Plaza, named after Ken Nunn. In addition, look-wise, there'll be branding throughout the Assembly Hall on all levels so that all our fans can enjoy tributes to the great tradition and accomplishments that accompany Indiana University basketball. And then finally, we're going to rebuild the infrastructure, not just because Tom Morrison makes me do that kind of boring stuff, but because it's the right thing to do to ensure that this is a great venue for another 44 years. So the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, alarm systems, all of that will be brought up to date and create a great building that will be able to continue to sustain itself. So in this way, we will preserve the greatest home court advantage in college basketball, and as the president mentioned, preserve the home of 3 of our 5 national champions, and as the events of this weekend demonstrated, it'll also continue to be the home of the last undefeated national basketball team in college basketball. And the greatest college basketball team in the history of college basketball. Thanks for being here, and go IU.
Thanks very much, Fred. Well, I'm now delighted to introduce the person whose passionate commitment to Indiana University is the driving force behind this renovation project. Cindy Simon Scott, as has been noted, is the daughter of philanthropists and good friends of Indiana University, Melvin Simon and Bess Meshulam Simon. She graduated from Indiana University in 1980. And Ms. Simon-Scott also holds a master's degree from Butler University. The Seminary Foundation is named after her children, Samantha, Eric, and Ian Scott, who share Ms. Simon-Scott's enthusiasm and passion for the IU Bloomington campus. Samantha and Eric are 2012 Indiana University graduates, and Ian is currently a student. Paul Scott, Ms. Simon-Scott's husband, is a former professional hockey player who owns the Indiana Ice of the U.S. Hockey League. Ms. Simon-Scott's many civic activities, that was on top of all the IU activities that I read out before, include board of director positions with the Indiana Sports Corporation, the Coalition for Homelessness Prevention, the Indiana Pacers Foundation, the Central Indiana Community Foundation, the Indiana University Foundation, the Indianapolis Foundation, and the Methodist Health Foundation. I mean, a pretty remarkable list, actually. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming and thanking Cindy Simon-Scott.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be here. Thank you, President McRobbie and Lori, for always being so kind to my family and to all of us. And Fred Glass, thank you very much, and good to see you again, Coach, too. Wow, this is an honor for us to join in this phase toward our mutual goal to transform IU's Assembly Hall for generations to come. This campus, the city of Bloomington, and Hoosier sports are the cornerstone of my fondest memories as a child, a student, and as an adult. I believe we have like 17 members of the Simon-Scott family who have either gone, graduated, or attended Indiana University, so it runs in our blood. I recall so many fun times with my dad right here in the iconic Assembly Hall, and football games too at Memorial Stadium, so this all comes back full circle. I loved this institution back then, and I still love it today. When I was approached a couple of years ago to first discuss this project, my reply was a no-brainer. Of course, I want to preserve the history of this great building, and I understand the need for growth and upgrades. My commitment is unwavering and sincere. The IU campus and Assembly Hall experience is unparalleled for its education, athletic programs, and student values. I strongly believe that if you love this university, you should give back to it. Obviously, Ken Nunn, thank you very much, feels the same. Thank you, Ken, for your incredible donation, igniting the flame for this bicentennial campaign, and I will applaud you again. I am so looking forward to seeing this newly refurbished Assembly Hall and sharing more exciting moments with my family, my future generations to come, and all the alums in the world of collegiate sports, and it's going to be fantastic. So go Hoosiers. We love you. Thank you.
It's not surprising that Cindy has memories of being here, I think, from her very youngest days, because her father, Mel, was a huge fan of IU basketball. In fact, I only met Mel towards the end of his life. First time I met him was just after I was appointed president. The first thing he said to me was, "What's going on with basketball?" So it remained of enormous interest to him right through, and importance to him right through his life. Well, our next speaker today has a long and storied history with Indiana University athletics. John Laskowski came to Indiana University in 1971 and played basketball for the Hoosiers from 1971 to 1975, as I'm sure everybody in this room knows. In his sophomore year, IU reached the Final Four, and in his senior season, the Hoosiers were undefeated for the entire regular season, and they swept the Big Ten by an average of more than 22 points per game. He played 2 seasons in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls, and he was inducted into the IU Basketball Hall of Fame in 1999. So please welcome Mr. John Laskowski.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And for you guys on the team that are from Indiana, I hope the comments I make you'll appreciate as well, because before you're a basketball player at Indiana, you are a fan. You become a fan yourself. And the great adventure of actually being a basketball player here is even more fantastic. You know, my father was not a college graduate. He was a tool and die designer in South Bend, Indiana. And went to South Bend Central just after Johnny Wooden had left to go to Indiana State to coach. And I was looking through the press guide that we got on the history of Indiana basketball, the 1960-61 season. And on February 20th, 1961, the #1 ranked team in the nation, Ohio State, came to the Gladstein Fieldhouse with Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek, and Bob Knight, and they beat the Hoosiers 73-69. 12 days later, March 4th, 1961, Indiana traveled to Iowa City to play the Iowa Hawkeyes. And my dad got transferred to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And he came home from work and he said, "Son, I'm going to take you to a Big Ten basketball game. Indiana's playing Iowa and we're going to go to the game." And so we drove about a half hour to Iowa City. We go to the game, and I'm so excited because I live in Iowa and the Hawkeyes are playing. And the Hawkeyes come out to warm up. And I stand up and I start cheering. They're the #6 team in the country. And my dad has never played a day in athletics in his life. Grabs me by the arm, sets me down, and said, "Son, you're a Hoosier. And no matter where you live, you will always be a Hoosier." And boy, that kind of wakes you up. Indiana went on to win that game 78-69, and I've gotten to meet some of those players from that 1961 team. My father passed away that November when I was 8 years old. And when we moved from South Bend, he knew that he wasn't going to live long. And so he rented the house out. We moved back to South Bend. 10 years later, in the spring of 1971, Bob Knight came to that house that my dad had bought and we were living in and offered me a scholarship to come to Indiana University. And I want to thank the donors who paid for that scholarship. It probably wasn't near as much then as it is now, but I became a college graduate. My son Scott is here. He is a college graduate. All my kids are going to be able to go to college, and their kids are going to go because somebody donated money so that I could come and play basketball. Thank you so much. I made my first trip to Assembly Hall that spring, and Bob Knight said, "Put this hard hat on. I'm going to show you our new arena." And we went down that tunnel and we saw the arena, and it wasn't quite done yet, but he said, "This is going to be a wonderful place to play, and I'm going to build a dynasty here." And he did on both accounts. I got to play in Assembly Hall. Now, you guys know what it's like at Assembly Hall during practice. There's nobody there, and the coaches are intense, and it's not a lot of fun a lot of times. But the magic happens when it's game day and the fans come in and the place is packed, they're yelling and screaming, and now it's our time to shine. And that's really what makes Assembly Hall, as has been mentioned before. It's the fans that come in there to inspire you to give your best. And these kids will tell you, and I'll tell you, and every former player will tell you, what a great feeling it is to have them behind you and how important that is to the success of our team. And I'm sure Coach Crean would feel the same way. So it's wonderful, Cindy and Paul, for your donation. We thank you. Ken Nunn, I can't thank you enough for what you're going to do. If you don't stay after a game, you should sometime, because it's amazing. There's a clock that starts with a 45-minute timer on it. And that clock is to represent how long the fans can stay on Assembly Hall and take pictures at center court. And they line up to do that. Coach Crean brings out 3 players. They sign autographs. It is an event to come to that game, just like it was for me in 1961 to go to Iowa and see a game, that's what people think when they come to see that game, and that's their first impression of Indiana University. So thank you again for doing that. And on behalf of the former players, I want to thank Coach Crean for the way he's allowed us to come back and be a part of the program. That is a wonderful gesture on your part, and on behalf of the players, I can't thank you enough for making us feel welcome here, and we appreciate that. Cindy and Paul, thank you again so much.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you for those, I think, very heartfelt and fascinating words, too, about your relationship to the program over many years. Our next speaker is IU men's basketball coach Tom Crean, who will discuss what I'm sure he will feel more than many people, what are going to be the benefits of the renovated Simon Scott Assembly Hall and the benefits that they will bring to the basketball program. So please join me in welcoming Coach Crean.
Thank you. It is always an absolute honor to represent Indiana University in any type of endeavor. And getting a chance to do it on a day like today is always a little bit more than what you bargained for, because you think you have an understanding of what Indiana is all about, especially when you've been a part of it. And we've been a part of it now for 7+ years. And I learned a long time ago, the first time I ever met Bill Cook. And we had a visit downtown. Steve Ferguson was there, Bill Cook was there, and we started to talk, and he said, there's two types of people in Indiana. There's the natives and the admirers. And he was absolutely right. And he said, he talked a little bit about that in his history with Indiana. And as time goes on, it's like the 76 team. I don't know what the population of the university was, but I think I've probably run into about 120,000 people that said they were part of Indiana University at that point. Because every day that you're here, you feel more like that native. You feel more like that person that's been a part of it. And it's not just what you do, it's how people make you feel. It's how this entire state can make you feel. And the benefits that Terry and her program and that our program will receive are probably too numerous to mention in the time period here. But what they are fairly obvious. Our players and our recruits of the future and our staffs will have an opportunity to continue to work in as extraordinary of a place as there is. Iconic is a word that's been used a couple times today. And there's no doubt that it's that. You can take any adjective that would describe a place that's full of energy, a place that's full of enthusiasm, a place where you absolutely feel different when you're in it. And that's exactly the way it is here. And Cook Hall has been the exact same way. I'll never forget standing outside when we first came and they were just breaking ground. We recruited Victor Oladipo over the jackhammers and things like that being built when the place was being built, to let him hear some of those things amongst other recruits, to say this is what the future sounds like. And Cook Hall is living proof. Our players are living proof. The fact of what Cody Zeller, Victor Oladipo, Christian Watford, Will Sheehy, Noah Vonleh, all those types of players, the ones that are playing now professionally or moved on, they're living proof of what can happen when you have something like Cook Hall. Because when you talk about a building that is 24/7, all right, that's the access that they have to it. And that is a game changer, because there's always an opportunity for them to get better. There's contraptions down there that allow them to have a rebounder from a machine to throw the ball back to them. Maybe they have a coach, maybe they have a manager. They don't even need that. There's never a time they can't get better. And when you look at Assembly Hall, it's going to be the exact same way, in the sequence that you already have this building that has been such a national treasure. There's so many different ways to describe it. All right, and the bottom line is there's no place like it. There's absolutely no place like it. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter how many different places you've been. There's no place like it because of the way you feel when you're in it. And we get to work in it every day. And it never, ever gets boring. It never, ever becomes mundane. It never, ever is something that we take for granted. And when you go through the halls of it, when you go into the arena, when you walk the corridors, there's nothing like it. And then, as John said, then the people come in. And that's where the feeling goes to another level. It absolutely does. The chance that we will have now to have it enhanced and expanded with the seating, with the suites, with the atrium, with what Ken has done, with allowing what's going to be presented when you walk into it and how it lures you into this place. All right, that's indescribable. But what's really, really important, and is more important than any ball that's bounced, all right, any game that's played, all right, and any person that walks through it, is the memories that people will have forever. And memories are a big part of this. It was a big part of this when Cindy and Paul came. It was a big part of it sitting in our conference room with Ken. It's a big part of it when the former players come back and maybe they bring their grandchildren or their children. It's a big, big part of it when our recruits come in for the first time. And it's certainly a big part of it in the privilege that we have as coaches working in this building to sometimes open those doors, to sometimes bring them in here, to allow them to come on that court where they think it's just this special, how are you going to let us do that? And for us, it's so easy because we want to share it. It's memories. And whether it's Cindy talking about her time, whether it's Ken talking about his time, whether it's all of us, the great leaders, all right, the great people in this world, we all have memories. It doesn't matter what we do. We all have memories. But the great leaders, they want to share them. And they want to give an opportunity for other people to have them. And that's the thing. That's the legacy. That's the legacy that is going to be such a part of Indiana moving forward. And there's so many different places on this campus that can say the same thing. But when you have a building like Assembly Hall, the Simon Scott Assembly Hall, that is absolutely going to open up so many more avenues for those memories to take shape, so many more people to be able to walk through those doors with their children, with their spouse, with their grandchildren, with their nieces and nephews, with their friends, whatever it is, those memories are going to continue to move forever. And what's happened to this building allows forever to happen. Now there's no exclamation point. Now there's no period. Now there's no question mark as to what's next. Now it's infinite. And that's exactly what makes it special. And that's why that is one of the many, many great honors that are a part of working here, living here, being a part of something like this. Because until you see it, just like Bill Cook said, there's the natives and there's the admirers. There weren't people that, there's nothing less than an admirer when it comes to, you may not love Indiana basketball, but boy, it's hard not to admire it. And it's certainly hard not to admire what's happened in here so many decades before. And on behalf of Terry and her program and our program, thank you so much for allowing us and our players to continue to build our memories and continue to watch all these countless people that are going to be able to come through these doors, all right, and build those memories their own special way. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Coach. And we are deeply grateful for all that you and your fellow coaches do in helping to shape and encourage all of our outstanding student athletes. And of course, we must always remember that at the end of the day, we are all here in facilities like this for our student athletes. And I'm delighted that two of those student athletes are with us today, and two of them are going to speak. First, we have Tyra Buss and then Robert Johnson. Miss Buss was a freshman guard, and she's from Mount Carmel, Illinois. And during her high school career, she was a two-time Ms. Basketball honoree, and she earned Illinois girls basketball records in career scoring, career free throws made, highest career scoring averages, career field goals made, single-season scoring, and single-season field goals. It's fairly impressive. And she also excels as well. On top of all that, she also excels in tennis, in track, and in cross country. And she graduated first in her high school class. Mr. Johnson is also a freshman guard, and he's from Richmond, Virginia. And he was there named the All-Metro Player of the Year by the Richmond Times-Dispatch newspaper. In the 2014-15 IU men's basketball season, Mr. Johnson played in all 33 games, making 32 starts. He ranks second in the team with 77 assists and 29 steals this season. He was a standout in this year's conference competition with 14 points on the road in the win against Nebraska, 9 points at Michigan State, 20 points against Penn State, and 7 points in the win over Maryland. In the Big Ten tournament, he started against Northwestern and scored 6 points, and in the NCAA tournament, he tallied 4 points against Wichita State. Ms. Buss will speak first, and then Mr. Johnson will speak, and he will speak without further introduction. So please welcome first Ms. Buss.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the women's basketball coaching staff and my teammates, I'm honored to be here today to express how excited we are about the new renovations that will be taking place at Assembly Hall. I can still remember the first time I toured this university as a prospective student athlete. I was in awe of the beauty of this campus. It is renovations like this that will continue to not only make this a beautiful place to continue my athletic career and education, but it will also make my experience as a student athlete that much better. One of the reasons I came to Indiana University was because of its rich tradition of basketball. Assembly Hall is the greatest place to play, and we have the greatest fans. I've only played here 1 year, and I already feel as if I'm part of a big family. I feel that it is a privilege and an honor to play for this university and for all the wonderful fans that came from near and far to support us. Hoosier Nation is simply amazing. Therefore, I am not only excited about the changes that will benefit us as a player, or me as a player, as I am probably more excited that the changes will make the experience that much more enjoyable for our fans. I, along with my coaching staff and teammates, are so grateful to all the people that are making this renovation possible. I would like to personally thank President McRobbie, Athletic Director Fred Glass, and all the members of the Board of Trustees for their involvement in this project. I would especially like to thank all of those who have donated their time and money to make this project possible, especially the generosity of Cindy Simon Scott, of whom this hall will be named after, and also Ken Nunn, of whom the new South Entry Plaza will be named. Your generosity will be felt and appreciated by student athletes and fans of the game for generations to come. Again, on behalf of the women's basketball program, we are so grateful and can't wait to make a difference in what will be an even greater place to play. So thank you.
I am honored to be here this afternoon representing Indiana basketball. As student athletes, we remembered the day we first walked into Assembly Hall and pictured ourselves playing in front of amazing fans. We take great pride in wearing the Indiana uniform and the candy stripe pants. It represents our great tradition and the coaches and players who came here before us. It also represents the fans and the appreciation they have for the Hoosiers. The Assembly Hall renovation is going to be incredible. One of the best parts is that we as players personally know many other people who have made it possible. On behalf of the IU players, I would like to thank you all for your extreme generosity. Coach Crean reminds us each day that it is an honor to play for our fans and Hoosier Nation. He never failed to point out the fans who travel to see us and those who line up early to watch us at home. We play for the fans and the tradition each time we take the court. We appreciate our fans, and having the renovations that will make that experience better is a great idea. The renderings show a great entryway, and that will enhance the experience for bringing people and their children to Simon Scott Assembly Hall for the first time. It will be something they will never forget. This renovation will show progress not only to our recruits, but to all that come to Bloomington. I would like to thank President McRobbie, the Board of Trustees, and Vice President Glass for your leadership and commitment to Assembly Hall and all that it represents. To those of you who have generously donated, and to those of you who will, thank you for making Assembly Hall even better than it already is. Thank you to Mr. Nunn for your generous gift and your support. We have enjoyed getting to know you, and we are so happy you love IU basketball. To the Simon Scott family, thank you for your extremely generous gift and for being great fans. We are so grateful to you, and we hope to make you proud. Thank you for supporting us each step of the way. Thanks again.
Well, thank you very much to both our student athletes, Ms. Buss and Mr. Johnson. And I think both of you serve as inspirations to your fellow student athletes and to the fans and many other supporters of Indiana University athletics. And now we come to the central moment of this ceremony, the breaking of ground. Now we have this extremely realistic depiction of groundbreaking in front of us here. And of course it is symbolic. But we do have a collection of shovels, ceremonial shovels that are awaiting us this afternoon. And I want to start by first inviting Ms. Simon Scott, Mr. Scott, Vice President Fred Glass, and myself, to all four of us will turn the first ceremonial amounts of soil. So 3 or 4 of us, please. I'd now like to invite Trustee Bishop, Trustee Eskew, Coach Crean, and Mr. Laskowski to continue the groundbreaking. And Jim, I'll fit Jim in with the students, actually. Now I'd like to invite Trustee Morris, Ms. Buss, and Mr. Johnson to participate in the groundbreaking as well. And finally, I'd like to invite Vice President Tom Morrison and representatives from the university's architect's office and the other architecture and construction professionals who are here today to complete the groundbreaking. Gentlemen. Well, my thanks to all of the groundbreakers and to all of you for being here today as we come to the end of this groundbreaking ceremony. I'd also like to thank Sean McGowan, who entertained us at the opening of today's ceremony. Sean, would you, where's Sean? Oh, thank you. Please join me in welcoming Sean. And I'd also like to thank the members of the groundbreaking committee who worked behind the scenes industriously, as they always do, to plan events like this. Please join me in thanking our committee. And finally, I want to thank all of you for being here today to help us celebrate this truly wonderful moment in the history of Indiana University and Indiana University athletics as well. Now, in closing today, we have a special treat. Darby McCarty, a member of the IU Varsity Club National Board of Directors, will lead us in singing the alma mater, Hail to Old IU, and then the IU fight song, Indiana, Our Indiana. And for the very small number of you who don't know the words, they are on the back of your program. Then following the ceremony, I hope that you will remain with us here to join us for the reception as well. So now please, of course, all stand for the alma mater and for the fight song. And where is Darby? There's Darby.